a designated point in this country, knowing that if they go to Texas, they would have an issue. In Arizona, they would have an issue. If they make their way to San Diego, it's not as much of an issue. Somebody has to make a plan, and somebody has to pay for all of that along the way. That means food, that means porta potties. The porta potty business in Mexico must have been booming. So there are forces that are willing to do exactly the opposite of what the laws would dictate in this country to help those to circumvent the laws. And so that's when people say to me, well, that's the reason why people want a wall, because it's a different time. So as far as asylum cases are concerned, is that not the case? And what do you see happening with asylum cases in the country? And what about the prospect of somebody not looking to get asylum at a border point, but making their way to this country and making their way to our border instead?
All right, so my feelings about the wall is that it's 2018. It's not 1945, it's not Berlin. You build a 20-foot wall, they're building a 21-foot ladder. They're gonna get a tunnel boring machine and they're going under. First of all, you need high tech, I think, as the first line of defense. It doesn't necessarily mean a concrete wall on a mountainous border between New Mexico and Mexico. Nobody's there. Nobody's there. They can't even survive out there. So I don't really think that that's the point. I think that if it was some kind of technological or electronic, there's drones, there's submarines, there's everything. Everything that we could think of, they can think of to get people and drugs and contraband or whatever in here. I personally think that the way to resolve the issue is to ease the problems that they have in Central America. So if we're talking about they're our backyard, right? If they're our backyard, how can we help them and how can it eventually help us? So we know that we give foreign aid to combat drug dealership, human trafficking, and other issues. But if we could make a better life for them that somehow benefits us at the same time, maybe we could have the best of both worlds. What if we made tax incentives for American companies to build factories down there, to train people, to make an incentive to have some sort of economy based on service and manufacturing instead of just completely agrarian or being completely susceptible to drug lords and other non-official people that control them.
Please tell me this. You're talking about generational changes. We're talking about something within 5 to 10 years. So you're talking about a corrupt country that you're going to change. That has been there for generations as an answer, as apart from a wall. And we're not talking about a wall that's how many hundreds of miles. They talked about a wall that is over areas that's flat, and the areas that are uninhabitable or very difficult to put a wall on, they're going to put in technical issues. So I don't see how doing anything with the South American countries, for all the money that we've paid, they're all corrupt. So the idea of making them better down there doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It hasn't done anything with the billions of dollars that we've paid over the decades. Excuse me.
If it's not us, I think it's going to be. If it's not us, I think it's going to be the Chinese. You know that they're building ports, they're building facilities, and they're going to get the soft power instead of us. And this is our backyard, just like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I think that we should take a more active role in dealing with it. I don't think that putting up a 20-foot concrete wall in the desert where there's nobody there to even cross it matters.
Here, let me.
So,
Okay, so let's so this is good. Okay. Okay, we're not here to debate Bill. So let's take a second. And also too, I would also say when we have an open discussion like this, we really need everybody's attention. So right now we have like 5 different discussions going on, and everybody's got their own panel session. So these are our 2 guest speakers. Let's show them, respect and kindness. And if you've got a question for one of the panel members to continue the discussion or to start a new one, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so the people in these countries, okay, and this is a global thing, okay? Everybody that knows somebody that says, you know what, in the United States, I know somebody that can make $10 an hour, you know? So how can we afford to raise the standard of living of the billions of people in this world that make less than that in order to reduce their incentive to come here? It's completely unaffordable, totally unaffordable.
And is there any empirical evidence that we have to it?
Well, again, I'll say a couple of things. The first thing is that, to maybe your point and to people that call my program, the point would be this. We have problems with people, I'll say, I won't say parties, I'll say people in this country who are lawmakers, who have no problem breaking our laws and doing things here. How am I supposed to trust a country to do the right thing on their side when it comes to issues of raising the standard of living, as if this is a new concept for them, that this was something that we had to tell them today because generations didn't realize this themselves. There's corruption on this side, there's corruption on that side. You know what it reminds me of, and I don't want to get off topic, but this is just quickly. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of climate change. Because everybody is begging us and telling us to do everything to bring down greenhouse emissions, right? Whether or not you are for or against it. But yet, how are they doing? You know, we're the one that we do not sign on to an accord, and yet we are dropping 3-4% of greenhouse gas emissions. The ones who sign on to these accords, they're going up, China, India, they're not going to change their economies from what they're doing right now. They're booming, they're fine. They're not going to change their economies because somebody tells them there's an accord that says that we should, you need to lower down carbon tax or the like. We have to trust that other people are going to do the things that we are asking them to do, and what kind of forces do we have to put in place? Some might say that it could be tariffs. That would be the tool that we would use to force somebody to do something. But ultimately, we see sometimes what happens with tariffs, and the markets don't like it. They don't like the uncertainty. They don't like when they hear bad things about China because they understand what's going on. So anyway, having said that, I just want to put that aside, but there's this issue. Fundamentally, I think that we all have to figure out how we're all going to come together on this politically when it comes to immigration. We're not on the same side. When it comes to Democrats and Republicans, they're just not. This president will not get, this is what I hear this from others, I hear this from politicos. This president is not going to get a victory in the next 2 years. It's not going to happen. Immigration does the same thing for Republicans as it does for Democrats. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth, and it's this. It's a wedge issue. It gets you out of your seats and it gets you voting. And if you take that away, then people don't rush to the polls on an issue that is demagogued to death, saying that if you don't do this, you're all going to die. If you don't do this, somebody's going to come to your house and take it away. It's that demagoguing that won't stop, and you have to ask yourself, who is the party, who is it, who are the people, who are the politicians, forget the party, who are the politicians that are okay with that? Who are the ones that say, well listen, it's not going to happen. He's not going to get a victory. Even if the American people voted for this president, and it's about $5 billion, which, by the way, the president made mention of this, and somebody brought this up on my text just a couple of days ago. We paid Iran $150 billion. We can't find $5 billion for a wall? It's not like we don't have money. Oh, we don't have it in pallets. Okay, but anyway, the point is if you just have to understand the dynamic that is the political aspect of this.
Cash.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, I have a real problem with this. I don't know if either one of you gentlemen been to Honduras or Costa Rica recently. I think we can all agree that Costa Rica is the richest country in Central America, and they're not doing real well compared to us. So your ability to bring Honduras up to that. Last time I was in Honduras, those 2 islands off the coast, you're fine. You go on the mainland, they'll kill you for your jewelry. Also, there's about ready to break out a yellow fever epidemic in Central and South America. And if you're not familiar with it, they found something they've been looking for 500 years in Honduras, and they wish to God they never found it. It's called the City of the Monkey God. They found out why it was abandoned. It's called Leishmanella. If you get it, parts of your face will fall off before you die. And it is now in Houston, Texas. Right now, we have dengue fever in the Keys and in Orlando that we never had before. When my people first got to Florida, before they built the Panama Canal, we had all these diseases here because we have all the mosquitoes to carry them. But the mosquitoes don't harbor the disease, they just move it from person to person. And if you let enough people in that have not been screened or sneak in and have these diseases, not only are you going to have dengue fever in the Keys and in Orlando, you're going to have yellow fever, and we're pretty soon going to be back to malaria. And wake up, guys, the drugs on malaria don't work anymore.
So Doug, just to keep the conversation, what's your question?
So my question is...
No speeches, just questions.
By the way, the other thing is, he talked about the Democrats. The way to get the Democrats to be against immigration is say that the people who are illegal will never have a road to citizenship where they can vote Democratic, and then immediately the Democrats are against it. So they're willing to sell our safety and our security.
Doug, what's your question? What's your
The
question?
question is, how are we supposed to stop all these people coming in here without some kind of physical barrier? Because I don't know if you saw the TV over the last few days. There are thousands a day of those caravans sneaking in. People have put up drones and seen them. We don't have enough border patrol or troops to stop them without a physical barrier.
The real statistics are the people that come here legally and overstay. Do you know that all of the terrorists that attacked us on September 11th came in legally with tourist visas? They went to schools here. We just didn't know how to monitor them or what to do with them.
But if they'd had diseases, they wouldn't have gotten to the airport.
The way, actually, I'll tell you something real world. As an immigration lawyer, the only screening for diseases is for immigrants, not for non-immigrants. So yeah, if you're seeking across, there's no monitoring. If you're coming as a tourist, you were granted a tourist visa, nobody's checking your blood, your background, whatever. But if you are coming as an immigrant, if you're going to become a permanent resident, you have to go through a medical exam. If the process is done here, it's done here by a doctor authorized by the U.S. Immigration. If it's abroad, it's done by a doctor authorized by the U.S. Consulate. Okay? But I want to ask you to recognize simple economics. Why do you think that they come here? Why? Anybody?
Economic opportunity.
Okay, and they're painting your house, and they're watching your kids, and they repaired your car, right? So we're hiring them, which means that we need them. If we have a low rate of unemployment, maybe we need like a real guest worker program where they can earn money that we tax and we keep, and then they take their money, then they go back to their country, and they put their kids through school where they're going to learn real skills, and we can build something. Maybe it's going to take generations.
They can vote there. Are they filing tax?
I'm sorry?
And they can vote there and not here.
They can't vote here. You have to be a U.S. citizen.
Okay, we want to keep this, we don't want a bunch of background noise, okay? We're trying to keep this a panel discussion, so who has a question? Sir, back there. You have a question, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Can't wait to hear it.
Okay, we all agree that it's an issue. So can the two of you explain what's wrong with the current law today and what we do to take on the Chamber of Commerce that he just addressed, which means there are employers and probably strong Republicans out there that would prefer to hire illegal immigrants because it's cheap labor.
Okay, round of applause, that's a question.
Not only illegal, but illegal because
Give you a hug later.
they don't want to do the work.
All right, so I'll address Gold Star. Yes, Gold Star. All right. My son gets that. We homeschool, and every once in a while you get the little gold star on there. And hopefully it's more rather than less. All right, so a couple of things. The first thing is I'd like to talk about some real numbers, some true numbers that I think we all have to discuss, right? This idea that, for example, we hear sometimes that people who come here illegals, listen, they're paying taxes. I mean, they may not, you don't understand that they